Hello there, this is DBT, and these are the rooms. And oh boy, it's that time again. Yep, a new patch dropped, and the new season began, and we have to talk about it. Yeah, it's one of those videos where we're gonna be talking a lot, but you don't need to worry, there's actually gonna be some gameplay, because I got some clips that I recorded some time ago and have to use it at some point, right? So at least we will have something in the background. But first, what has been happening? A new update dropped, I don't know, like 5 days ago, something like that. The version 7.0, update 60, whatever. And I wanted to do a review of the patch notes, but the reality is that the patch notes are not all that interesting. There's very little substance to them. I mean, they're long, but there's very few things. So I thought of waiting until the actual season began, and that is where we're at right now. So the first thing that we will do indeed is check the patch notes for update 60. Now, I'm gonna skip all of this, that's just the introduction. I'm just gonna go straight into the meat of what's important. The first thing being the avatars in the vehicles. And that is where, when you're driving now a bike or an open-top car, you know, like a convertible or a full roadster or whatever, now you can see your avatar using the outfit of your avatar. In my case, for example, the bull costume or whatever it is that you're using, you're gonna be able to see it. So, when I say that there's not a lot of substance in these patch notes, I mean that, you know, there's very few points to talk about, but I don't want to minimize the fact that doing this, adding the avatars in the vehicles, while that is something that was long overdue, because to this day I don't understand why they didn't think of doing this when they introduced the avatar system, but anyway, a year later they finally added it into the game. And that must have been a ton of work, because all of the stuff that they needed to rework into allowing the model of the driver look different, you know, with all of the tons of little pieces of costumes that are available nowadays. So yeah, this was not a small amount of work, so I don't want to make it seem like, oh, the developers didn't do anything. No, they worked really hard on doing this. But I have some thoughts on the whole thing, but we'll get to that at some point. So yeah, this is the first point that they talk about, the avatars in the vehicles. And they give you the list of all the vehicles where you will be able to see it. Again, it's basically all the bikes, and then any of the cars that don't have roofs. The McLaren, you know, the F1 type of cars, the Ariel Atom, cars without a roof and windshield like the Monza, like the SE20, the 12 Sigma, you know, things like that. So yeah, that's basically the idea. Some people I saw some people saying like, hey, they should have done it also for cars that are, you know, coupes. But the reality is that most of the coupe cars have dark windows, so you can barely see inside. And then on top of that, with a roof, a lot of the costumes would be clipping through the roof of the car. For example, the bunny suit or the bunny suit or the bull with the horns. Those would be clipping through the ceiling of the roof, and that would just look bad. So I understand why they didn't do it. Honestly, that would have been wasted work to try to work it into those cars, because yeah, it doesn't make much sense. And on top of that, it would take a long time, because each one of these car models needed to have been reworked in order to fit the avatar customization. So that's a ton of work that honestly I don't think it would pay off. Would they do it in the future? I don't know. I really don't think so. I don't see the point, but hey, whatever. Now, the second point is the Garage Live Season Pass. We will talk about this in a second. I'm just gonna skip through it right now. The third point is light and dark theme UI adjustments. And this is actually an interesting one, because there were some good changes. The main thing that they're talking about is the fact that they made the UI much more visible. And in fact, for that, let me go back into the game and show you. I mean, you have noticed it yourself. But over time, with the Dark Garage, what they've done is make things much more readable. For example, if you notice the old times of the garage theme, the Dark Garage, you will notice that this was not as visible. The boundaries of each one of the blocks was not as clear. Then, for example, when you would go into the stats of the car, this maybe not be as readable because of the backdrop, especially in the light theme, like very bright background with bright numbers and whatnot. It was not very readable. So that's basically what they've been doing, just working on the UI to make it much more pleasant to look at. I did like a lot the fact that they made all of these things fit into the screen instead of having to scroll a little bit just to be able to see the very last one. So yeah, there's some changes here and there. It's nothing major, nothing obviously that affects the game itself, but it's a better UI experience, and I'm glad that that's the case. Apparently this is like their final version of the UI, like, hey, we're completely done, so that's kind of cool. Now, moving on, balancing adjustments. Alright, so there were a total of, I believe, 15 rebalances. Mercedes-Benz Biome, Koenigsegg Agera R, Mosler Super GT, Lamborghini Gallardo, SEC Ultimate, Koenigsegg CCXR Trevita, the Volkswagen IDR, Mosler blah 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 blah. You have seen all of this. I'm gonna scroll a little slower so that you can see them, IDR and whatnot. But yeah, so rebalances. I'm not gonna talk much about the rebalances at this moment because, you know, I've said it a million times, and I'm gonna make some videos on some of these cars. I overall consider rebalances to be a good thing, even if the cars don't tend to be amazing. But anyway, those are the rebalances, and the final is the other notes and bug fixes. 2 new cars are added and will be available as premium rewards in Car Hunt: the Neo EP9 and the Jaguar F-Type SVR. Kinda curious, this was a turbo car in Asphalt 9, but we'll see how it is over here. It's an electric, so again, this with the whole thing of rumble, because in the patch notes it says something about yeah, Garage Life Season, blah 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 blah, dedicated to those who love the rumble of vengeance. On electric cars? I don't think so. But anyway, that's me just nitpicking wording. So yeah, going back to the general points. Improve UI visibility for buttons in the inbox and inventory. Again, more UI things. Updated wildcard icon and tutorials. Fix crash app. Crashes on Android, UI visibility, UI, more improvements on the UI, fix an issue with track name display. So all of these are small issues, that's why they're in the separate little part, nothing incredibly crazy. Fix an issue for the following bundles, I don't know, something about the purchases. Fix an issue with the red dot notification master keys, fix an issue with the green dot notification. So overall, that's why I was saying that the patch notes don't have a lot. Basically, we can summarize it as: number 1, they did the avatars in the vehicles. Number 2, UI improvements, and number 3, car rebalances. That's it. That's it for the patch notes. Again, they go into the season, but the season I want to talk about separately because, oh boy, is it its own subject. So, new season, Garage Life, or Garage Life, however you pronounce it. Yeah, well, we gotta talk about it. What's the deal with this thing? It's the worst yet. That's it. That's the only way I can summarize it. It's the worst yet. Why? Over time, you know, I've talked about this a bunch of times. Every time that there's a new season, I talk about this, how the seasons have become worse and worse and worse. Obviously, the very first season was the absolute best. It was for $10, 2 ultimate upgrades, a bunch of cars, all of the kits to upgrade them in the discount coupons, so it was amazing. Then the second season was a little worse, the third season was a little worse, then they made, I don't remember, I think that's when they removed one of the ultimate upgrades, I think it was on the third one, then they brought back 2 upgrades, but then they made the price so much higher, from $10 to $30, 3 times as much, and people were still buying it. I mean, I'm not necessarily completely judging because I ended up buying them myself, but for, you know, peculiar reasons. One of them was for content, the other one I'll talk also about why I bought the last one. But yeah, now this one, how did they make it worse? Well, they removed the ultimate upgrades. I'm willing to say that the vast majority of people, me included, that bought the season, bought them for those things. And, you know, I've not been shy to say that I do believe that the ultimate upgrades were a mistake to be added in the game, because what it did is it created a massive inflation on prices. So I've never, I mean, obviously an ultimate upgrade is useful. Oh yeah, I can pro my car instantly. It sounds like a good thing, but the overall repercussion of ultimate upgrades, in my opinion, is that they were a detriment to the game because they skewed the entire economy of the game into a terrible state where now everything is super expensive. But don't worry, you can get ultimate upgrades from time to time. So anyway, if we look at the rewards overall, it's what you expect. Some parts, not even all that many parts, some wild cards, and some currencies, some car here and there, more currencies, more parts, your avatar icon. The only thing that I would say probably is relatively, not relatively worth it. The only thing that I consider it's okay, not for this price, is okay, no, let me rephrase that. The only thing I consider it to be objectively good is getting the storage and maybe some of the more high level or high tier direct upgrades. But other than that, everything else, it's so ordinary on what they're giving you. Some currencies, like I said, some car here and there, a little bit more currency, a little bit more parts, and the master keys with limited, no, maybe because I have a bunch of cars, right? But with a limited pool of which cars you can cannot even get the quote-unquote best cars. So overall, as you see, what is there to get? Like I said, well, maybe some of the direct upgrades, but seriously, the problem with this season, it's the price. This is $30. Obviously, this is my local currency, but this is $30. They're asking you to pay still the exact same amount of cardboard, ever decreasing rewards. Honestly, I seriously thought that Gameloft was gonna be smart enough to lower the price of this thing. $30 while they remove the main selling point. I really hope nobody buys this. I really hope so. I mean, again, I've not been shy to criticize this whole thing every time that a new season comes, and every single one of them has been worse than the last one. But this one, it's yet a new level of low where they remove the most useful things from this thing and they still want to sell it to you at the same price. And in the previous ones, I did say maybe you don't buy this thing and blah blah blah, don't support it, the price was too high. In the end, like I said, I have to be very clear, transparent that I did buy them because I did need, or I did want to get the ultimate upgrade. So call me a hypocrite if you want, it's fine. But my point over here is that this particular season, I can tell you, I'm not gonna buy it at all. Because seriously, the rewards over here are, like I said, ever decreasing. And now they remove the 2 ultimate upgrades. Now, I was talking on Discord about this situation where honestly this is what Gameloft has been doing. Originally it was 2 ultimate upgrades for $10, right? You know what? While we talk about this, why don't we watch some races that I recorded the other day with the Terzo Milenio, because I thought, hey, might as well do it, right? So the first thing was when they sold the season for $10 and you got 2 ultimate upgrades. So the proposition of value for the ultimate upgrades was $5 each. Then they realized that, oh, maybe that's too cheap and we're giving too many cars. So they started decreasing the amount of cars, but you still got 2 ultimate upgrades for $10. And then what they did is, you know what? Never mind. We're gonna do 1 ultimate upgrade for $10. It was the price of the pass was still $10, but now you can only get 1 ultimate upgrade. That was already like a slap in the face because, hey, they suddenly, being objective, they doubled the price of the ultimate upgrade, right? Because now for the same amount of money, you can only get half as much. Okay, so $10 per ultimate upgrade. And then what did they do? In the next season, they were like, okay, you know what? No. It's fine. You will get 2 ultimate upgrades, but now it's $30. Yeah, what that means is that they increase the price of the ultimate upgrade again to $15. So you see how it has been rising. It was $5, then they made it $10, then they made it $15, and that is where it was on the last season, right? $15. However, now I don't know if you noticed, if you caught that offer, it appears randomly. There was an offer for an ultimate upgrade, a class S key, and I think some direct upgrades or something like that for $30. Like, oh boy, now it's a car on class S, which normally when they sell them for money, it's like $20 or something like that. So it's a car plus an ultimate upgrade and some direct upgrades for $30. So it's kind of hard to say what was the price proposition for the ultimate upgrade there. But that was the idea, selling you now the direct upgrade directly. And now that they have completely removed it, don't be surprised that now they're gonna be like, well, now that you cannot get an ultimate upgrade anywhere, now we're gonna sell it to you directly for $25. It's not $30 like that other offer. No. It's just a direct upgrade, but it's $25. Maybe they'll do 21st or 25. I don't know. But just mark my words, this is what Gameloft is doing. They're ever increasing the price of the ultimate upgrades because, like I've said a million times, the ultimate upgrade just cannibalized the entire economy of the game on the prices of upgrades, on the requirements for the upgrades and everything, because they wanted to make the car so difficult to upgrade. And then they give you this thing for a certain price that just completely bypasses all of the currencies that you needed. Well, yeah, of course it's gonna be detrimental to their business. So yeah, they're in my opinion, they're trying to phase out completely the ultimate upgrades from being acquirable in any other way that is not a random giveaway to 3 people or a direct purchase for a very considerably high price. That is where I think this whole thing with the ultimate upgrades are going. And look, I understand why they're doing it. It's not that I like it. Obviously, I don't like the idea that they just remove the ultimate upgrades from the season pass. But I see why they're doing it, and honestly, that's unfortunately just how it's gonna be from now on. And I mean, at this point, like I said, what is the point of buying the season pass? None. Other than getting maybe your car and some of the keys and all of that. But seriously, $30 for that, man, that's just terrible. I mean, again, as usual, it's up to you if you're gonna. Oh, Jesus, that was an accidental knockdown. I swear I wasn't trying. I didn't remember that even happened. But anyway, yeah, I would recommend you this time seriously to not buy it. And like I said, I did buy, and I've said things like this in the previous videos, but I did buy the premium pass for the seasons 2 seasons ago because I wanted to do the ultimate upgrade on an electric car. You voted for the Faraday, and I made a bunch of content on that. And the last one, this previous one, I also bought the season pass because I already knew the rumors were saying that the ultimate upgrades were gonna be removed from this current season pass. So I bought the last one to be like, okay, my last 2 ultimate upgrades that I'll probably ever get. So that's why I went for it. No other reason. But now I'm not even tempted. At some point, even before, I was still slightly tempted, but now it's just complete nonsense. But anyway, that is my thoughts on the season. Again, up to you if you're gonna buy it, but I honestly think this is the worst proposition yet. Let's just wait another month while this season ends and see what new garbage can Gameloft offer for ridiculously high prices, because apparently that's their business model now. Forget about the people who are willing to spend a little bit of money constantly. Instead, go for the few people that want to spend a whole bunch of money all at once. But anyway. Now, this brings me to the main point that I wanted to talk about. Obviously, I wanted to review the patch notes and the season, but I ranted about this the other day, but I thought of doing it in its own video. I really don't know where Gameloft is going with the game right now. It just seems like a sinking ship. And I know that sounds extremely melodramatic, like, oh my god, DVT is just being hyperbolic and all of that. But the reality, to me at least, my subjective view of the... Oh, Jesus, that was a terrible drift. My subjective view of reality is that right now Gameloft it's focusing in all the wrong things. All the wrong things. What was the last new thing that you have seen in this game? The Treasure Rush. And what was the Treasure Rush? A glorified gambling machine. Granted, yeah, there was some good stuff for players with the direct upgrades here and there that you could get randomly and all of that. But they spent I'm sure they spent a very, very considerable amount of time developing that thing, bug testing it and all of that for it to be ready for it to launch. They've used it a grand total of 2 times for gambling, exclusively from gambling, so that people that were in full FOMO mode and needed to get the Yesco Absolute to spend, I don't know how much was it, like $100 or $150 to get the Yesco Absolute, just by straight up paying because the gambling is too much to deal with. Kind of the same thing with the Porsche Rabbit Edition. So that's a lot of effort that they put into developing that one single new thing that doesn't bring anything new or interesting to the game. It's just gambling, but gameplay wise, it's nothing. Now, if we look fast forward to today, where they released a new feature, which is the avatars in the vehicles. Yay! Something that should have been done a long time ago, but they didn't. Okay, fine, they at least did it. But again, I ask you, what does that bring to the table in terms of gameplay? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Gameloft has been relentlessly working only on monetization systems, seeing how else they can get money from all of us, and in cosmetic stuff. Because in the end, it's all, don't get me wrong, it's still all about monetization. The whole idea of you being able to see your avatar in your bike or in your car is so that, oh, look at this other guy driving that bike, it looks amazing with, oh, I want that suit, oh, I can purchase it, let me purchase it. That is the whole point of the avatar system to begin with, since it was introduced, bringing a new method of getting people into, ooh, I like what this other person has, let me do it. It's the same as other games where, I don't know, it was a Counter-Strike, I don't know, whatever games with cosmetic in their guns and whatnot, where, oh yeah, but that gun looks amazing, I want to get it, oh, this guy has it, yeah, I need to get it, you know, that type of thing. So that's what Gameloft has been doing, and I don't fault Gameloft for trying to monetize their game. Obviously, I don't. I've said it a million times. I understand it's a business, and we all have to understand that as a business, the business needs to thrive in terms of monetary gain for the game to continue to be alive. So I'm not blind in that sense. I'm not saying, oh my god, they shouldn't make... No. I understand that, but my problem is that the focus by Gameloft right now seems to be 100% on that and nothing else. The last new track that we got in this game was over 2 years ago. It's almost 3 years ago. The last track that we got. What else have we gotten there? Well, we have gotten new cars, but thanks to the fact that this whole balance system makes all the cars extremely similar, all of the cars feel the same. And be that good or bad, that really depends on who you ask. I think it's both good and bad. But yeah, let's forget about the new track. At least they were bringing cars constantly, but nowadays they're taking so long to bring new cars that I think a lot of people are losing interest. And I'm seeing this over and over, where the lobbies are harder and harder to fill. I mean, the game is not dead, don't get me wrong, but it's harder to find lobbies nowadays, full lobbies. You remember that at some point the lobbies used to be 8 players, and then they made it into 12-player lobbies, and you would still get 12-player races. Well, when was the last time you saw a 12-player race other than in the most basic brackets? It's really difficult. Really difficult now to find the lobbies. So that kind of does tell me a little bit that maybe people are starting to give up on the game. And also, my non-scientific method of checking this is in some TLEs, the ones that are available for everybody, particularly when it's like a free try of something. I like doing the worst possible time to end up as low as I can in the leaderboard. And when I started doing this a couple years ago, I would reach 160,000 place, you know? I was in the bottom at 160,000. Now I have done that thing and I'm seeing around 100,000. That we're talking about losing like a third of the player base. Now, is this a scientific method and I can confidently say that this game has lost 33% of all the player base? No. But that is the impression that it gives me. Maybe it's just that particular event, who knows? But overall, I do feel that the game is losing players, and the reason why they're losing players, again, in my opinion, I'm not a businessman, but the way I see it, lack of anything good or interesting to do in the game. We've been driving the same tracks for the past I don't know how many years. We're driving different cars, yeah, but now they're all of the cars are very samey, so it feels like you're driving the same car in the same tracks that you have been doing for so long. What is there new to do? They added Gauntlet at some point, and Gauntlet was a good addition because it was a whole new mode for asynchronous multiplayer, and that was fantastic. And I think a lot of people love Gauntlet, and that is great. But that was the last, I would say that's probably the last innovation in gameplay that they have done. Now, I'm not trying to say Gameloft needs to create a whole new mode, incredibly complex and wow. No, I don't, and this is something that I mentioned on that previous video where I was ranting about this. What we need is, for example, new, more interesting multiplayer things to do. Maybe not more interesting, simply different things to do in multiplayer. Keep the classic season as is. Because we like classic season, period. Because that is where you get to drive your... Oh, Jesus, Aveneno knocked me down? Okay. In classic season, you get to drive any bracket that you want. It's fantastic. Keep classic season. But make a secondary, make Master Season what you, Gameloft, originally said that you were gonna do, where it was gonna be changing the rules from time to time, so that it's not exactly the same thing week by week by week. Well, technically it's every 2 weeks, but still, every time it's the exact same formula. Classic Season is there, and then in the off week, it's gonna be Master Season that starts, and there you go. Use all your classes cars as soon as possible, get to Elite and get bored again because it's the exact same garbage over and over. Sorry, maybe not garbage, but you know, I just find it so frustrating that there's nothing new. Now, I don't want Asphalt 8 to copy Asphalt 9. That's not what I'm asking. But Asphalt 9 did have some really good ideas with the MP1 and MP2. MP1 would be like classic multiplayer. And MP2 in Asphalt 9, it's a system where week by week, it's not every 2 weeks. The normal MP1, it's 2 weeks. But MP2, what in our case would be Master Season, goes rotating week by week. and every week it's something different. For example, the new special event for the, what is it now, the Faraday Future in Asphalt 9. Well, MP2 for 1 week was a free try of the Faraday Future, and you could use that car to your heart content, obviously with contempt, with the fuel limitation system of that game and whatever. But they allow you to use that car, and man, people love trying new things. It's a car that, maybe I want to get, maybe not, let's see, I'll drive it. And it's only 1 week. It doesn't stay as long, it doesn't, how does it say? Doesn't stay its welcome for too long. It's 1 week, you get to try it, and guess what? Next week, different thing. It's not a free try of this car, it's gonna be a theme season about, for example, the Halloween season, where they chose, or even the Animal Day or something like that. They did pretty much the same thing, where they allowed, or they gave you multiplayer, free try, by the way, free try of the cars at the maximum stats, exclusively with cars that were themed around animals, a viper, anything that said spider, things like that. So they're constantly rotating MP2 in Asphalt 9. Asphalt 8 needs to do something kind of similar to that. I'm not saying do exactly the same, but do something that week by week brings us something different to do, because as it stands, it's just the same thing day in, day out, day in, day out. You gotta do classic, you gotta do master, those are always the same thing, you gotta do gauntlet, and that's it. That's all you're gonna do in the game. Of course we're gonna lose interest. And I understand, like I said, something else that Gameloft could do is bring in a new map, a new track. That would be fantastic. I understand it's a lot of work, because that's something that Gameloft cannot monetize. They will not sell you a new map. They can't do that. So it's gonna be a lot of work in adding a new map. But guess what? That's suddenly gonna bring a bunch of people to be like, oh, wait a second, there's a new map. I gotta practice it. I gotta get good at it. And more people are gonna be interested in playing again. And I'm not saying bring a new map on every single update, but seriously, almost 3 years without a new map? Man. I've said before that I wanted to make a video on adding track variation, and I still want to do it, but I'll just quickly give you the idea here in case you haven't heard me talk about it. Just make different versions of the existing maps, but with making them good variants. Like, for example, imagine this track, Alps, where instead of going through this tunnel, you have to go on the outside of the tunnel, because that is now, the tunnel is blocked, and add some different ramps in different positions and force players to go into that other route where the rocks fall, because the other more normal route is blocked. Do something different to get people interested on playing and learning things again. That is the thing. When people have been playing for this long and they have pretty much mastered the game, well, what else is left for them to do? Nothing, just acquiring new cars. And honestly, that's at the place that I am. It's not that I'm a master of the game, obviously. I'm not trying to say that, I'm definitely not. But overall, I don't know, it's just, I find very disappointing the fact that Gameloft continues to do nothing new with the game, and instead just monetizing the game further, and wherever they put a lot of effort into adding a new thing, it tends to be a thing that is not doesn't have any effect on the gameplay. I know this went all full rant. I wanted this video to be like 20 minutes, and look, we're almost at the 30-minute mark. But I can't stop my rants. I really have a lot to say about this, because I feel really strongly about this game. This game, along with Asphalt 9, are the undisputed kings of arcade racing. But it's sad to see that this game keeps going downhill, because I don't know who is making these decisions in making the game so repetitive, so uninteresting. So Gameloft, if you ever listen to this, I don't see why you would. Please consider bringing something new that it's gameplay. Something new. People are tired of playing the exact same thing over and over and over. There's always gonna be some people who are happy to play multiplayer 3 hours a day, every day, and that's fine. Those are the hardcore players. But for people like myself, that I have so many other things that I could be playing, I get tired of just seeing the exact same thing, nothing new to do, nothing interesting. So, yeah, I think that's all that I wanted to say. I'm sorry that this went full rant. Like I said, it's just that I feel really strongly about this, and I felt that this was a good opportunity for me to finally talk about it. So there you go. And at least this time I showed you some gameplay so that you wouldn't just see the same car rotating over and over a million times while I just rant about it. So there we go. Maybe I'll do that for the next rant. Just record some gameplay and show it to you that way. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this video. You know what to do if you enjoyed this video. Hit the like button. If you think that what I said here has any value, then share it around. Maybe someday we'll get Game Love to listen to us and do something new in the game, because the game really needs it. It's going downhill. But that's all. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Check these videos that YouTube wants you to see. And that's all. Bye-bye.